Hello YouTube, Wes here checking in with a brand new episode of The Vinyl Survivor. As always, 10 albums up on the chopping block pulled from my inbox. Give them a serious listen, let you know what I think of each one, and let you know whether they're going to be staying in my permanent collection or whether they just weren't for me and they're going away. So let's go ahead and get into this. Heavy focus on the 70s here with a couple of dips into the 80s. So that's what we're doing this time. First one I got here is the 1977 album from Boz Scaggs titled Down To Then Left. Boz Scaggs can definitely be best described as kind of a light pop rock kind of late 70s sound. Definitely in that sort of Steely Dan kind of wheelhouse. Overall, I kind of felt like sort of ho-hum on this one. It never really caught my ear. I kind of was fading out there a bit trying to listen to this one. So unfortunately this one is not gonna be for me, not that interesting. I'm not really gonna recommend it. I would personally, if I'm gonna go for something like this, I'm gonna pull out the Steely Dan before I pull out something like this. Yeah, it's on the yellow and red Columbia label. So unfortunately Boz Scaggs, not for me. If you're a fan of the 70s pop rock kind of thing and you want to, something you want to have in your collection, then this might be up your alley, but for me it just didn't work out, so not going to be staying in the collection. Alright, the next one I have to share with you from 1975, we have the second album by the progressive rock group Triumvirate, Illusions on a Double Dimple. Triumvirate were a German progressive rock group, very keyboard heavy. If you're a fan of ELO or Yes or something like that, you're gonna dig this as well. So definitely keep an eye out for Triumvirate releases. They have a couple of them. They're all pretty good. They're all pretty enjoyable. Definitely enjoyed this one myself. Again, very keyboard heavy, very progressive, kind of wanky, over the top prog rock kind of stuff that's fun from time to time. And Triumvirate is on that ever lovely Harvest label. Definitely enjoy that. So Triumvirate's Illusions on a Double Dimple. Definitely recommend this one. I enjoyed it. Kind of their breakout album, their second album, once they started hitting big in the US when they released this album. So this is a good place to start off if you find this one. But as I said, all their stuff is pretty good that I've heard so far. So if you're into prog, you're gonna like this. So Triumvirate, Illusions on a Double Dimple. That one is a keeper and it's staying in my collection. All right, next up we have our first dip into the 1980s, but not straying too far here. This is John and Vangelis private collection. So we have John Anderson of Yes and Vangelis working together in a collaboration. It kind of definitely has that sort of Vangelis kind of mixed with progressive rock kind of thing. It's very synthy, it's very keyboardy. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of this. The side 2 is one complete track called Horizon that's pretty good, pretty enjoyable, but the slog through side 1 I found kind of rough. So by the time I got to side 2, I was kind of over it. This is kind of like a half good album. It didn't work for me overall. Like I said, I enjoyed side 2, the side long track, but otherwise not something for me. It does have lyrics, custom insert there, and that's on the red Polydor label. I did enjoy side 2 on this. Overall, I felt it just wasn't anything I needed to keep around. I can stream this if I really need to in the future. This one is not going to be staying in the collection. Okay, so this next release is from 1977, but all these songs are from the 60s. That is the Beatles compilation Love Songs, and it's just all of Beatles love songs, all on a 2 LP compilation. This is more of a collector kind of piece for me. I mean, it's not something I'm necessarily going to sit down and listen to all their love songs in one place. The Beatles were a lot more mixed as far as their album content than just love songs, so it's better to listen to the albums, I think. So this does come with a lyric booklet. pretty nice. And it is a gatefold, but I'm not going to be able to show you the gatefold because this is still in shrink and I want to keep the shrink on it. It's got a nice textured sort of leatherette kind of cover with the gold foil stamping, which is pretty nice. And we do have custom labels as well that sort of match the album artwork. So yeah, Beatles love songs. Kind of more of a collector-y kind of thing for me, but you know, I was able to pick this up for $5 and I'm not going to say no to that. So definitely add this to my Beatles collection, and not something I'll probably spin again, but it was a nice compilation. It's really nice quality. So that is the next one into the collection. All right, moving back to a more official 70s release, we have the debut album from Blondie from 1976, their self-titled album. Yeah, it was interesting to listen to this Blondie album, and I was more familiar with the more of the late 70s, early 80s Blondie that I grew up with. Definitely moved into more of a new wave-ish sort of sound. This one, you can kind of see it on the back here. It definitely had a bit of a 50s vibe to it, but it still definitely had a new wave sound as well. A mixture of new wave and punk and 50s kind of music. It all works together pretty well, so it's an interesting, enjoyable album from them, and an interesting debut, and I can see why they only went further or grew from here. So it was really enjoyable to hear this debut from them. I don't think there are any real big hits on here. And it's on the blue and white Chrysalis label. Yeah, Blondie's debut, self-titled, a little bit punk, a little bit 50s, a little bit new wave, and a lot of fun, a lot of good music here. So definitely staying in my collection. Next up, from 1970 exactly, so barely slid in here, we have the debut solo album from Buddy Miles titled Them Changes. Yeah, Buddy Miles, of course, probably most well known for the title track Them Changes, which was a hit for him, and also being the drummer in the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So yeah, definitely great artist. This is a very, very soulful album. And as I've said recently, I've been just sort of digging into some more soulful kind of stuff recently. So this hit the spot for me as far as that. Really enjoyable, really great soulful kind of music. Lots of horns on here. Yeah, really cool gatefold on this one as well. And that's on the Mercury label. So yeah, Buddy Miles, Them Changes. There's also a really cool, I want to point out if you haven't heard it, a really cool cover of Down by the River, Neil Young's song on here. Yeah, definitely enjoyed that cover quite a bit. So yeah, good album. As I said, a good soulful album. Yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. So this one is staying in my collection. Next thing I have to share with you is the 6th album from the group Aerosmith from 1979 titled Life in the Ruts. And yeah, from what I can tell, the band themselves were definitely in the ruts at this point. This album is kind of, it's all over the place. It's not great. Yeah, I didn't enjoy this album very much at all. It had its moments, but overall it was kind of just okay. On the yellow and red Columbia label. So yeah, Aerosmith's Night in the Ruts. I don't think the band was doing too well at this point, and it definitely shows as kind of a weak offering from them. So this one, I don't need to keep this. It's not going to be staying in my collection. All right, next up I have to share with you a piece of what's titled symphonic rock. I don't know exactly what that means, but symphonic rock is a good example of what it is. It's almost like a little more showy, a little more performative, kind of upbeat rock music. I guess like Jesus Christ Superstar would be considered symphonic rock, I would think. Something like that, something along those lines. But this is Michael Kamen's New York Rock, released in 1973. And it definitely has sort of that upbeat kind of happy-go-lucky kind of rock sound to it. I guess it goes like this, actually. Yeah, overall, I wasn't too impressed with this. It just doesn't fit my vibe too well. I didn't enjoy it very well. And it is on the Atco label. So yeah, Michael Kamen, New York Rock. Didn't exactly vibe with this one, so this one is going to not be staying around, unfortunately. Wasn't for me. All right, next one I have to share with you is from 1976, and we have an album by Todd Rundgren titled Faithful. This is almost really technically a Utopia album, as it features all the members of Utopia. And yeah, going with the title Faithful, why it's titled Faithful is that side A is all covers, and they didn't try to make them their own. They tried to cover them as faithfully as possible. So, and yeah, very odd, simplistic artwork as well. Kind of just got this textured white cover, not too much going on in the back here. The inner sleeve is completely plain, even though it's textured cardboard as well. So yeah, you got like a cover of Good Vibrations on here, and it's not, you know, they're not trying to make it their own. They're trying to make it sound exactly like the original recording of Beach Boys' Good Vibrations. The same goes for If 6 Was 9, Strawberry Fields Forever. I struggled with this. Side 2 is all originals, and it's much better, but after struggling through side 1, I was kind of put off by this. Again, another one that sort of put me off on side 1. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't want to keep this. This was kind of my introduction to Todd Rundgren a little bit. I don't think I'd sat down and listened to a full-length Todd Rundgren album before this. So yeah, unfortunately, this one, I couldn't vibe with it at all. I don't like if you're going to do a cover, make it your own. I don't understand what the purpose of trying to do a cover and do it exactly as it was originally done. So yeah, Todd Rundgren's Faithful, unfortunately, wasn't for me and not going to be staying in the collection. All right, and last but not least, I have a comedy album for you. This one is from Robin Williams from 1986, and this is our other dip into the 80s and our last record of the day. This is Robin Williams' A Night at the Met. As I said, 1986, so lots of 80s references. This is right at the point where he was moving away from being a comedian and moving into being an actor. So yeah, an interesting point in his career. He was kind of at the top of his game as far as a comedian, and definitely moving into the actor kind of realm. I think the year after this, Good Morning Vietnam came out. Just a good solid comedy performance from him, really enjoyable. Definitely, as I said, lots of 80s references, so if you weren't around in the 80s, you might not get a lot of these jokes, but enjoyable stuff. Does have a printed inner sleeve, which is kind of odd for a comedy album, and this has a customized yellow and red Columbia label. I guess the press kind of tore it, so messed up the label. One on the back is fine. So yeah, Robin Williams, Night at the Met. Definitely a keeper for me, staying in the collection. So thank you for watching this episode of The Vinyl Survivor. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Think about subscribing if you haven't already, so you can be kept up to date with future releases I do here on the channel. I think you'll enjoy it. Have a great day, great night. Enjoy some great music, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.